We're going to be talking a lot about rhythm in drums and all things related to rhythm. And rhythm is really one of the three big pillars of music. We've dealt with the other two already, as in melody and harmony. Harmony, in our case, just meaning chords. Melody meaning the single note lines. And rhythm is the element that applies to everything. All melodic and harmonic instruments deal in rhythm too, and so do drums. The percussive instruments and instruments with no pitch deal in rhythms. Rhythm really is just the organization of sound through time. So it deals with the lengths of notes, when notes begin and when they stop, how long the silences are in between notes, and the patterns that these notes or percussive elements occur in. So this is all the things that rhythm deals with. It deals with timing and placement in time of notes and sounds. Rhythm can also mean like a particular pattern. When someone says, play me that rhythm, or that's a cool rhythm. For instance, if I just solo this little hi-hat pattern here, we would say this is a rhythm. So rhythm deals with patterns and the placement of notes in time, but this is a rhythm. This is a rhythm being played on the hi-hat. And chords can be played in rhythms, melodies have rhythms. Anything that has notes that start and stop necessarily have rhythm, because rhythm is dealing with when things begin and end and their placement relative to each other through time. So to begin talking about rhythm, we really need to discuss what people call the beat. The beat is like the most fundamental rhythmic aspect of a piece of music. When I say the beat, in this case, I'm not meaning the drum beat, although the drum beat may help you discover what the beat is. The beat is the underlying pulse of the music, that which you tap your foot to or nod your head to, that you feel is the organizing principle of the song, which all the other rhythms are based around. And any particular rhythm really only has meaning in relationship to the beat. I'll give an example of that here. So I played this rhythm a second ago. Now, how you hear this rhythm will have to do a lot with where the beat is. When we hear it by itself, we might have any number of ideas about how to bob our head to that, or we may have no ideas. But check this out. So I'm going to turn the solo off, and we're going to hear this kick drum now. And the kick drum is going to provide the beat for us. It's going to show us what the beat is. Notice how this now organizes those taps before that we might have had a different idea about before. That's pretty cool. Now check this out. This is the same exact hi-hat pattern, but now the kick drums are placed in a different place, creating a different sense of beat for us, where the beat is different. The same exact hi-hat pattern. Check this out. Here's the first one again. And the second one. Here's even a third one. For this one, I've actually not done just kicks. I've put a snare in there because it's going to help us feel the beat, because it might feel a little bit strange if you haven't heard this kind of thing before. It's pretty cool, hey? So the same hi-hat pattern, the same rhythm, the same individual rhythm has three different meanings compared to three different ways of feeling the beat. So now I'm using a kick drum here to exemplify and accentuate the beat, but the beat is something that is underlying the music at all times, what's organizing the music at all times, keeping everything in rhythm, but it doesn't have to be played. Not every beat has to be played. It doesn't have to be a hit, a drum hit, or a chord hit, or anything on every beat. We actually will be able to feel the beat even without something hitting on it in every single beat. So I'll give you an example. So here we have a larger little thing. This is a little drum pattern. It's just a kick and a snare, no hi-hats. And what we want to notice is that there are many times when no sound hits on the beat, yet we still know how to bob our head or tap our finger or whatever to it, we'll often be tapping in the spaces between hits. But that's the beat continuing on regardless of whether something hits on it, and we can feel that. Then halfway through, right around here, the snare goes to hit half as many times as it did in the first half, which is called playing in half time. We'll talk about that later. And still then, we're hitting on even less beats, yet we can still feel the beat. So let's try that out here. So here it's very clear. You can tap your finger or whatever you want to do, and just keep that speed. So that's pretty cool. We don't have to hit on the beat all the time to give the sense of the beat. We will intuitively figure out the beat from the placement of the hits. And an important point about the beat is that it doesn't change. It stays constant. It doesn't have parts where it hits twice, or it doesn't slow down or speed up unless you make a tempo change, which we're going to talk about. But in general, throughout a song, the beat remains perfectly even. And that's what allows everyone to synchronize themselves to the music. They're bobbing their head or doing whatever they're doing. Even if no drums are playing, other elements might be hitting on various beats or off beats or anything. And that's giving us a sense of where the beat is. So the beat is this sometimes not spoken, meaning no instrument is playing it, fundamental pulse of the music that is providing the ground for everything to be based off of rhythmically. Then I wanted to quickly talk about tempo. So I've just got, I think it's almost the same drum beat over here, and I'm at 120 beats per minute right now. So we've talked about tempo a little bit. Beats per minute, now we know what that means. That's how many beats fit in 1 minute. The beat is this underlying pulse. So this governs how fast or slow the song is. So at 120 beats per minute, that's 2 beats every second. We get this. Now, if I bring this way down, maybe to like 90, let's try that out. So all the rhythmic elements still line up relative to the beat, just where they did before. It's just that the beat is slower now, so everything comes about slower. And we can put this way up to maybe like, I don't know, 180 or something. And it'll sound pretty ridiculous. So if you're like super hyped up on coffee all the time, maybe this is what your life feels like. I'm just gonna go back to 120. So the tempo, or the BPM, the beats per minute, as I mentioned, is usually constant throughout a song. But there are times, especially in particular genres, where the tempo varies throughout the course of the song. So you can have tempo changes. You can have the tempo speed up and slow down, especially if you listen to classical music. In classical music, the tempo is much more fluid. It ebbs and flows and gets faster suddenly and slower and has gaps and this kind of thing. In a lot of electronic music and rock and modern stuff, pop music, that doesn't happen so much. We usually have a single tempo for the whole song. Experimenting with tempo changes is great. We're going to learn how to do that in the future. You may even be able to figure out yourself how to do that. It's been done in a couple of the task sessions that you've opened. If you explore them, you'll find that there's a tempo track that I've actually manipulated the tempo to change it for different sections. So every genre, I shouldn't say every genre, but there are certain genres that have particular sets of tempos or a range of tempos that they like to work in. For example, hip-hop is usually between, like, say, 60 and 110 beats per minute. House music is like 120 to 130. Dubstep is usually maybe 130 to 145. And then drum and bass could be like 150 sometimes, up to 190. And different genres have different tempo ranges. And if you're trying to approximate the sound of a genre by trying to create a song in that style, it can be good to know those tempo ranges. It's easy to find them out just by Googling. And then you can use that as a starting point to base your drum track around or whatever, and give you a sense of the beat that feels in accordance with that genre you're trying to work in. So that's really the fundamentals of rhythm, in terms of how notes are spaced throughout time, and covering there the beat, this fundamental pulse of the music, and then tempo, which is how many beats, the speed of the beat, how many beats fit in a minute, BPM, that's the tempo. So in the next video, we're going to look at note values, how long notes last, and what do we call a note that lasts that long, because they have certain names, and knowing those things is quite helpful for doing quantization and talking with other musicians and things like that.